What is up, people? It is me, Monster58, and welcome back to another video review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series Rise of the Beasts Core Class Noah Diaz in his Exo Suit as he appeared at the end of Transformers Rise of the Beasts when, spoilers, Mirage ends up essentially getting killed by Scourge, and then the remnants of Mirage form around Noah into his exosuit, which he uses to help Optimus fight off Scourge and fight off the other Terracons and whatnot. So, without further ado, let's take a look at the box. It was a little ripped because, man, this part was really freaking hard to open. You can see the very nice Transformers Rise of the Beast. You have the Noah Diaz Exosuit Studio Series Transformers Generation Studio Series right there. You got the nice artwork there of Noah in his exosuit. Got more nice artwork here, Core Class Studio Series, more nice artwork here, and finally your obligatory product shots. Transforms in 7 steps. And this background is very simply that end scene, the end area where the final battle occurred in Rise of the Beasts. And yeah, with this is kind of an unusual thing to include in the Studio Series line, but I get why they did, because he did end up getting essentially like a Transformers style suit, even though it never transformed. But at the end of the day, I think that's it for the box. So, alrighty, folks, here we have the Transformers Studio Series Rise of the Beasts Core Class Noah Diaz in his exosuit in his jet mode thing. Obviously they had to engineer some sort of, jet mode or some alt mode, and they decided to go with the jet, which I think at the end of the day probably is the better thing, because he did have jet boosters on it, so it ends up making sense that they would probably go for a jet here. But unfortunately, even though it does look fine from the top, on the bottom it's just him, laying down. It looks nice. You can see there is actually some decent detail across here. You do have the nice blue paint, the rather drab gray, but what are you going to do? It's a Core Class. You do have the nice gun here, which very much easily just unpegs here. You have a little peg and peg hole there, and then you have the massive peg and peg hole there. All you have to do is do this, and I think it feels more complete when you do it like this, so that's pretty cool. At the end of the day, it's whatever. I mean, it is decent detail, some decent paint up here, but as soon as you look at it from the side and then look at it from the bottom, it's just him literally just, laying down, face down. So it's still pretty cool, but other than that, it's nothing to write home about. But it's not, I wouldn't say it's awful, but definitely, very much the Core Class standard, in my opinion. But when it comes to, especially when it comes to something like this, they're trying to make an alt mode for something that didn't have an alt mode at all. The only thing it really transformed was getting those jet boosters as well as the cannon on his right arm. But other than that, yeah, it's okay. It's just okay. But again, I would cut it a little bit of slack because it is just a Core Class figure, and also when it comes to this, he didn't have an alt mode, and so they had to engineer an alt mode. Even though it's not great, it's not necessarily the worst thing I've ever seen. So yeah, that's really it for his vehicle mode, and so we're going to set him off to the side here to do some comparisons. For another Core Class comparison, here we do have him with the Legacy United Boulder Crash, so you guys can take a look and see. These guys are about the same size in terms of their length. In terms of width, obviously Noah's a bit bigger because of the wings, but yeah, these two pretty much have the same heft to them. So if you have Boulder Crash, you'll have an idea of how big Noah is in his alt mode here, but it's still pretty solid scale. For a deluxe figure, here he is with the Legacy United Magnus. As you can see, these two, obviously, this is a deluxe figure. There's a lot more heft to this guy. But yeah, just wanted to give you guys an idea of the scale that this guy has. And don't worry, we're going to get to some more comparisons. But like I said, I use Magnus for like all of the baseline scaling for the most part. So might as well bring him out here. And finally, for the last comparison, we are going to be doing it with the Studio Series Deluxe Class Bumblebee from Rise of the Beasts. As you can see, these two scale together quite well, although Noah should, he should be smaller, because if you think he can fit inside of there, that's the idea. He should be able to fit. He should be smaller, but at the end of the day, the scaling here really isn't like meant to be 100% accurate. It's still decent, but yeah, Noah should be smaller, but overall, it's still really solid. Just wanted to give you guys, again, an idea of what it'd be like for scale. Now, I would do Mirage, but I hope you guys can understand who own the figure, and have seen videos about it. I just don't want to transform it. We'll see him in robot mode, definitely. That'll be a big comparison I'll do, probably the last comparison I'll do, but I just genuinely do not want to do the transformation. I haven't done it in months, and yeah, I just don't want to be frustrated or break anything or something like that, so I hope you guys understand that. But yeah, I think he scales quite fine with Bumblebee, although it's obviously not going to be 100% accurate. Alrighty, into the transformation, and it's a core class transformation, but this is probably the most simple core class transformation I've had in a very long time. I mean, Boulder Crash really wasn't all, like, he's still simple, but it's still a little more complex than I'd expected. This guy is just straight up, like, very simple. So, first things first, we're just going to remove the little cannon he's got here. We'll fold the wings in. Then all you got to do is unpeg the arms. Then you just got to take this back section and then rotate this up and accordion like that, and then do the same thing here. So accordion essentially the front of the jet mode back, and then just let it rest in there. Unpeg the legs and then rotate the feet down, and there he is in his little exosuit mode. Right there. There he is. Alrighty, folks, for a core class figure, this is actually fine. I was just looking at pictures, again, of this exosuit and comparing it to the figure in the movie. I'll see if I can throw a picture of it right here. But honestly, they really didn't do an awful job at all, I think. I think that there are inaccuracies, obviously. Again, it's a core class figure. The tiniest of budgets, what are they, what can you expect for accuracy? It's not going to be 100% accurate, but I think they didn't honestly do all that bad. Sure, they've got some little details wrong, like the lights on his chest are supposed to be the taillights of Mirage or what, and so they should be red, right? There's some inaccurate color, you have, so if we're taking a look at the details, the helmet isn't necessarily the most correct, and then you have this discoloration, so it's, this is a lighter gray, this is a darker gray, another lighter gray, darker gray, lighter gray should all be mostly uniform. But at the end of the day, I can't really complain all too much because they got honestly they got as much as accurate as possible with this figure given the budget and the circumstances that they had to make this figure, and so I can't really complain all too much. You do get this is the cannon, sorry, this is like the blade, but for the cannon it's very easy. So his hand, you can see, has a little peg hole in there, and you do have that peg and peg hole in there. All you gotta do is this, and so you can see it's pretty nicely detailed. I mean, even this, and even the cannon itself has that nice gunmetal gray. It's even got the see if I can. It's even got that little, the orange on the inside for the barrel, so that's pretty cool. At the end of the day, like I said, I can't really fault them too much on this figure, just due to the fact that it actually is rather, decently accurate given the budget and everything. So, yeah, that's pretty interesting, and honestly, I'm really not all that mad with that. I think it's perfectly okay. So, we're going to do comparisons as per usual. So, we're going to move Noah off to the side here, and we are going to zoom back out a bit because, unfortunately, the other figures, or majority of them, are going to be much, much bigger than Noah. Alrighty, folks, for our first comparison, here he is with Boulder Crash. As you can see, in terms of size, he's just about right. There are core class figures that are smaller, but mainly the ones that we've seen lately that are smaller are Soundwave's cassettes, such as Rumble and Frenzy. And so at the end of the day, this is a pretty solid size class for this guy, and I'm happy that he's a pretty chunky core class. And with a review coming, probably, I'd say, so today, the day that this video will be released will be Tuesday the 23rd, so this will probably be released on, let's see, it'll be released in, like, early August, or I think that'd be the first week of August, so that Thursday, so the Thursday after, so next Thursday, from when I'm talking right now, since it's Tuesday today, that's when this figure's review will be released. But here's Novocaine. These two ended up coming in the same shipment. So yeah, this is pretty much how these two should probably scale together, I'd imagine. I don't think we ever saw these Terracons, these ones in particular, with Noah wearing his exosuit. But if you're to imagine, how he scaled without the exosuit on, this is probably how they would scale relative to one another with his exosuit on. Here he is once again with Magnus, as you can see. Again, just to give you guys an idea, he is a pretty chunky core class figure, and it's very nice to see that. So here he is with Magnus. Here he is with his partner in crime, Bumblebee. Well, technically not, sorry. But, you know, we have that really iconic scene of him grabbing onto Bumblebee's spoiler and then doing that drift, and then Bumblebee transforms and they start shooting the Terracons in the final battle. That's a pretty sick scene. But yeah, here he is with Bumblebee, and honestly, these two look pretty cool together. I'm just glad to, you know, in a way, actually, to have Noah on display with the other Rise of the Beasts Autobots and, the Maximals. So pretty cool stuff. And finally, his actual partner in crime. Here is Mirage. And as you can see, these two look great together. Obviously, because the suit is made of Mirage's leftovers, if you want to call it like that, they should be similar in color, and they absolutely are. The blues, the grays, everything works here, and I think that these two look great together. And again, I'm very, very happy to have these two on the shelf. Again, if we're talking actual scale, Noah should be much smaller, or a good bit smaller than this. But for the most part, again, it's a core class figure. It's not going to be the best in scale, so I still think that they did a pretty solid job with the scaling. The thing that matters most to me is that he is smaller than an average Autobot, which he is. Alright, and finally, the articulation. Now, there's one thing I have to show before I show the articulation, and that's because it helps his articulation a lot. Actually, what you can do is you can remove the massive jet on his back, and then you can use it on its own, and then this leaves the exosuit sort of this. You know what this reminds me? Because you guys are Transformers fans, I hope, if you're watching this. Did you guys play the Transformers DS games? Like, the first ones from that are supposed to not mirror, but sort of reinvent the 2007 movie, and then, Revenge of the Fallen and Dark of the Moon. Did you guys play those games? Do you guys remember at least in Revenge of the Fallen and in the first one for 2007, those games had a protoform, and you were that protoform as a main character, and either you obviously were a Decepticon protoform or an Autobot protoform, or you got influenced. This is what this reminds me of. It actually reminds me of the protoform. I'll see if I can find a picture of the protoform real quick and put it like here or something, but I hope you guys can see that, because that's what I see with this. But it does look much more streamlined, and because of that, this gives this much more better range of motion. And so what you can also do is, if we remove the gun, you can just peg the gun back here, and this is what they show in the instructions. You can actually have it like its own little unit. So if I transform it like this, you can have this be essentially its own unit, which really emphasizes the idea that the transformation is just him face planting. But you can do that. That's pretty cool. You can't really, I don't think you can really give this to another character to hold. Can Bumblebee hold this, out of curiosity? I'm just curious if he can hold it. Let's see if I can I remove that? Can he hold this? Can he hold it like this, maybe? Just out of curiosity. This is one thing I actually never tested. No, it doesn't look like he can hold it. Definitely sucks, but it can't really be used, but it's a nice little drone piece. So if you have a tiny little flight stand, you can definitely peg this on if you didn't want to display Noah with this massive backpack on him. But talking articulation, head is on a ball joint, so you can actually get some down, you can get some up, you can also get the full 360. Shoulders are also on ball joints, so you can get the full 360 here. You also have ball joint at the elbow, so you do get that rotation there. About 90 at the elbow, no wrist or anything like that. You do have full waist, which is pretty sick for a core class figure. You can kick forward, you can kick back, you have 90-degree bend at the knee, you have a rotation at the knee, and then you do have ankle rocker, because the ankles are also on ball joints. So in all honesty, this guy actually has pretty good articulation, all things considered, for especially given how small he is. And even if I were to, let's retransform this real quick. So just do this, do that, give him the gun. So we'll just peg that right there, and then we will peg this back on. So you'll see he's got tab holes there and there, and you just gotta line them all up, and it is very easy to just do that. And see, even with the exosuit on, like with the big backpack, he actually can still display relatively nicely, and that's really cool to see, like a figure like this being able to pose pretty well despite his, again, tiny stature and small budget. So can't really complain all too much there. Alrighty, folks. Given the surprising articulation, the sort of playability with this figure, and also with its not honestly that all that bad in terms of accuracy, let's get into the reverse transformation, which is just as simple as the regular transformation going to his exosuit mode. So we're just gonna remove the gun. I'm going to straighten out the legs, fold the feet down like this, just point them down like that. Make sure the waist is forward as well. Just take the arms and you'll notice that there are tabs there, and then there's the tab holes there on the inside. Just got to line those up, tab those in, like so. Then just straighten the head. And what you got to do is take this section, accordion it like this. Take the back section, fold it out like that, and then what you'll notice is that there are two pegs right there on either side, and then there are peg holes, so you just gotta line those up, squish them in like that, very simple. Then you just take the gun, plug that there, and ladies and gentlemen, here we have the Transformers Studio Series Core Class Rise of the Beasts Noah Diaz in his exosuit back in his little jet mode. Alrighty, folks, so for my final concluding thoughts on the Transformers Studio Series Rise of the Beasts Core Class Noah Diaz in his exosuit, this is pretty okay. Okay. Let's talk about the bad and then the good. So when it comes to the bad, the transformation is really just awful. I mean, it's nothing. It's super simple. I mean, I get it's a core class figure, but it's still not that great. The vehicle mode is pretty solid from the top, and then when you start to look at it from the side, and then the bottom, that's where you see it's just Noah face planted down. And that's a bit of a shame, but at the end of the day, it's a core class figure. I know we have something like Boulder Crash where it's not that bad, but at the same time, I still think that they could have maybe done a little bit better. I don't know. It's really hard also. I don't know. I'm sort of giving them leeway just due to the fact that the exosuit never had an actual transformation into an actual vehicle or alt mode. It just transformed in terms of getting jet boosters, a gun, a blade. That was about it, right? The good stuff, though, is that it matches Mirage quite well. The playability is also really nice, and the articulation is really, really solid. It's actually really solid and even better than some other figures that are deluxe figures. In addition to that, it's not quite inaccurate. Sure, it's a core class figure, and it's not 100% accurate. But at the end of the day, I think they did the best that they could, and I honestly think that they nailed it quite well given their budget, given everything like that. And so at the end of the day, would I recommend getting this guy? Yes and no. I mean, if you do want Noah as a display thing, as a display alongside the Maximals and the Autobots, yeah, that's absolutely something that you can decide to pick this guy up for. He doesn't cost too much money, and it's not a ridiculous price to pay for this guy. But I can see a lot of people pass on it, and I don't blame you, because it's not really, he wasn't necessarily the main focus of the movie in terms of, like, you guys want to see Transformers and stuff like that. He's obviously not, a Transformer or anything like that. Obviously, he's the main human character, and technically the main character of the movie. But my point is, like, a lot of people want Transformers in their display. I'm not exactly sure how many people would want to have Noah as an extra in their display, right? So I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from when I'm saying yes or no when it comes to recommending this. So out of a 10, I'll give this like a 6 or a 7. It's okay, right? It's just okay. It's not bad. It's not amazing at all, but it's not, egregiously terrible or anything like that, I don't think. And so I did pick mine up on the Big Bad Toy Store, so I will leave a link in the description to that. I will also leave links to Amazon as well as Hasbro Pulse, so you guys can also pick this guy up. Also, take a look at your local retailers. This guy should be hitting your retailers relatively soon, I'd imagine, given that I got it in the mail so soon. And so keep your eye out if you are looking IRL, and I wish you the best of luck if you do decide to hunt this guy IRL. But without that, I think that's about it. So I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, and subscribe. Share this video with your friends, and also follow me in the socials. Those will be linked in the description below. And with that, guys, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video review, and I will catch you all in the next one. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.